Welcome back to the Skidmore Family Farm. A couple days ago, we were challenged in a tag from Homesteading the Hard Way. It's Chris and Darlene at Homesteading the Hard Way. It was why you farm, homestead, or garden, or all of the above. Basically, I wanted to start with, we're new to all of that. I've always dreamed of having a farm, but it wasn't until last year that we started out with some chickens, and we've been just gradually getting into this. But basically, we have decided that we want to buy a farm or buy land and turn it into our own farm, develop the land, clear land, whatever, depending on where and what type of land we get. That will determine what we have to do, I guess. We've looked at just raw land, vacant land, land with homes, that type of thing. But it started last year, and we had talked about it for the last 2 years, but this past 2018 year, we started looking at property in eastern Kentucky, mainly because we live in just south of central Indiana, and the property value is pretty high here. You're looking at about anywhere from $4,000 to $7,000 an acre on average. Good farm ground, close to 10 grand an acre. So, and we're not looking for 100 acres of cornfield. We're more than willing to take the land that needs cleared, has brush and undergrowth and trees, that type of thing. But I have custody of my son Eli, so I have to approve any type of move. I have to give a 90-day intent to move, which to me, I understand why they do it, but on the same note, I was chosen to be the best fit for his custody, for physical custody, and I have shared joint custody, joint legal custody is what I was trying to say. So anything that I have, if I move across the street, I have to file a 90-day of intent to move. So basically that's why we're still where we are and raising chickens and doing the stuff that we're doing here in our house in town. Basically, we're on a city street. We're 10 blocks approximately from the town square, the courthouse. We're right in town. Martinsville is a small town, but it's not, we're not on the outskirts by any means. We have neighbors all around us. But basically, last year we had found a property that we really liked, and we really wanted to move there. It was 115 acres, I believe, or 110 acres approximately, somewhere in there. Only about 10 acres of it was completely flat. The rest was mountainside to mountainside. The hills, or the mountain, I guess you could say, you could walk up. They weren't super steep, but they weren't something that you'd plant corn in or anything like that. You could fence it and use it for goats and stuff like that. They could clear all the underbrush, and if you cleared it out, you could still have use of it. It just wasn't ideal farm ground, but we didn't care because it was what we wanted. It was not a lot of neighbors, a rural area, basically. And sorry, I'm petting Rosie. Come on, you want up here? You want to be in the film? She's interrupting. She needed lovins. But it was something that we really liked, and we liked the area, and we pursued it and went to ask for permission from the courts to move, and that's not the right way to go about moving, I guess. That's a whole nother story. We'll get into that another time, but needless to say, we weren't allowed to move because we didn't do what we were supposed to as far as asking the courts and the procedure that we were supposed to do. I guess you could say we didn't follow directions according to state guidelines. But anyhow, let's see. I kind of wrote some notes down so I could go over this. I'm just trying to give you a little bit of background so you know why we are here where we're at and why we're trying to do what we're trying to do here instead of somewhere else. But since we were turned down to move last summer, we just decided to get some chickens. We started out with the 6 Rhode Island Reds that we currently still have. We got those last August, I believe, right at the beginning of August or the last couple days of July of 2018. And on Christmas Eve, we got our first eggs in 2018. Oh, wait, I skipped over a little bit. The Rhode Island Reds were about, I think, 6 weeks old, and we purchased Cornish cross hens, meat birds. We raised those to the 8 to 10 week marker. I think it was about 8 weeks for the first, the roosters that we harvested first. They were the largest, and then the hens, we wanted to let them go a little longer. So, is your drink good? Elena's chugging down some water. Anyhow, we harvested all the Cornish cross, and we still have the Rhode Island Reds. They started laying on Christmas Eve, and I'm not sure how long. I think we've had our new chicks about a month, maybe a little longer. And those are, we have 2 barred rocks, 2 sex links, and 2 black australops. And those will basically start laying eggs probably about the time our Rhode Island Reds start to molt. So hopefully while the Reds are down, our new chicks will begin to lay, or there'll be hopefully not much of a downtime with no eggs. We kind of timed it at the 1 year, I think it's 12 to 14 months. The molting process typically starts. So hopefully that works out, that the new chicks are laying while the Rhode Island Reds are in their molting phase, and by the time they pick back up, we should get a lot of eggs at that point. And then the new chicks, they will begin their molting phase, and the Rhode Island Reds, by then we'll probably have purchased more chicks, and the Rhode Island Reds will probably just become stew chickens. We'll turn them into chicken broth. But to get back to why we are deciding to homestead and get into farming and gardening, and we plan to do all of those. My great-grandpa owned quite a bit of property and was a farmer back when they were just starting to get tractors. They still had mules and big workhorses, draft horses, to pull plows and stuff. I think when he first started, my great-grandpa was born in, I believe, the 1870s, somewhere in there. My grandpa was born in 1918, so his dad was basically born before the 1900s. So, and then my grandpa, they had a big garden, him and my grandma. And this is my mom and dad's, or my mom's side, her mom and dad. So they owned 28, I think, acres approximately. And they leased it out and then took a big chunk of it and always had a big garden. They had a 2-acre or 3-acre pond and then about 10 acres of woods. So it was just part of their ground was farmland, but the rest was wooded. And they hunted rabbits and raccoons and that type of thing. They had coon dogs and I think my mom said they had chickens when she was little and stuff like that, and goats. But her grandpa, my great-grandpa, was still alive when she was little, so she remembers all the farm stuff, which my great-grandpa passed away in the 70s, sometime mid-70s, right before I was born, I believe. So that's one of the reasons why we want to get into this. I feel like, and I think a lot of people should look at it, if they went back in their family history, I bet if they only went back a few generations, their family members were also farmers or subsistence type homesteaders. They had big gardens, canned. I mean, it's just been in the last 100 years that we've had all the refrigeration and everything. So you don't have to go back too far to where people grew their own food, or they traded and bartered their own food with animals, or you had family members that raised some cows and you had pigs and a big garden and they had a big garden, and you did seed exchanges and vegetable exchanges and or whatever your needs were. And everybody has gotten away from that. That's something that that also brings up. It's basically dying out. The old ways of doing things are going away. Nobody's wanting to do that anymore. Everybody's looking for the easy route to getting food, their vegetables, meats, fish. They want everybody else to do it while they play on their computer or phone or sit in an office cubicle all day, and that's just not me. I tried one time when I got out of high school to get a job to where I just sat in one place. It was a printing place, and I ran a printing machine, a die cutting machine, and it drove me crazy. So not going that route for sure for me. But that alone should be a reason for most people to want to farm or homestead. I mean, nobody knows how to take care of themselves as far as I'm concerned. In that aspect of farming, most people don't know how to grow anything or don't have any desire to know how to grow anything. We would also like to instill this into our children to be able to take care of themselves through farming and gardening, and that's something that also isn't being done. People aren't instilling anything in their children anymore. They're letting them play video games and hang out in their room 90% of the time and don't do anything with them. Don't go on family vacations anymore. A lot of people don't. They work all the time. You work to pay bills and die, basically, and I'm not into that. I just think that society is going in a bad direction. The quality of food is poor. We want a higher quality of food. We don't want to worry about our lettuce having salmonella or whatever on it, poisoning us from eating a vegetable, because factories or packing plants or whoever processes the foods and vegetables doesn't care about you. It's about how they can keep it fresh so it looks pretty when you go to Walmart and buy your food or your local store. So they pick it green, and they need to preserve it, so they don't care if they poison you, basically. They put harmful stuff on them. The fact that you have to wash and scrub everything should be a sign that there's stuff put on your food that's not good for you. If you look at any of your packaged food, it's all processed. There's chemicals put in it, stuff put in it. If you can't pronounce it, or there's on the food that you're buying, if there's more than 20, more than 4 ingredients, if it's got 20 ingredients, then chances are it's not good for you. It's been processed. You can't pronounce the ingredients that's put in it, so that should tell you right there that you're pretty much eating poison, in my opinion. I do it. I know lots of people do it. If you drink pops, sodas, fountain drinks, whatever you want to call it, all that stuff has lots of sugar and lots of stuff that you shouldn't be ingesting, basically. And I've just kind of gotten tired of it. I've started to exercise in the last week, which I've put off. That was one of my New Year's resolutions. But trying to keep on track. But it just kind of bothers me that our society's gotten to the point that we're poisoning ourselves to save 10 cents or to not have to go out in the backyard and plant a garden. And we're just eating garbage, essentially, in my opinion, is what it is. So, I think there was one other thing. Oh, since I brought up Walmart, big corporations, they don't care. If they cared, they wouldn't be having recalls on food. They would pay attention to where they're getting their food, and people wouldn't die from the food before they do something about it. Big corporations make it sound like they're saving you money and it's all about the customer. If it was all about the customer, they wouldn't be putting the stuff that they put in food, and they wouldn't have it on their shelves. It's just end of story right there is how I see it. But that wraps it up for why Skidmore Family Farm homesteads or gardens. We're just trying to have a better family life. Be healthier, and not feed the consumerism that's going on because of big corporations like Walmart and all the big Publix and Kroger, and all those people aren't looking out for you at all. So that being said, the people that I would like to tag in this challenge are Wholesome Roots. They're a good channel. They have goats, I think is what their specialty is, and they have a big, huge garden every year. They have some quail and chickens, but you'll have to check her out. She's got a good show. Her family's involved, her husband and kids. Then we have the River Bottom Homestead, which they only have one video out. That's the River Bottom Farmstead. Chris from Homesteading the Hard Way introduced them, and he's trying to get them up and going. So I'm interested in seeing why they do it, and I'd like to see some more videos from them. Their farm, or their property, was destroyed by floods, so I'd like to see what they're doing to get back in the farming and homesteading game. That's River Bottom Farmstead. And then next is Mimsy's Garden with Anna. Mimsy's Garden. Her name is Anna. She's a beginning homesteader like we are. She's new to gardening, and she's got a few videos out there, but she's a small channel just like we are. So if you would like to check her out and see why she's doing what she's doing, that's Mimsy's Garden -Anna. And I'll put the names, you'll see that in the video, so you'll have a better idea. Then the Adkins Family Homestead, they're also a new channel. They're doing basically the same thing that we're doing. They bought a house that needed remodeled, and they're not remodelers per se. Her husband, I guess, had done some remodeling work, but he'd just done like small tasks, and he took on a big project, but they're following through with it and getting it done. I'd like to see some more videos from them. It's Atkins Family Homestead, and they're also doing some gardening and starting seeds, I believe, and that type of thing. But I'd like to encourage them to put more videos out. They have some interesting stuff going on. I think they have about 11 acres. That's Atkins Family Homestead. Then we got the last one is Homesteading, Homemaking with Heather Skinner. They're up in Canada. Her husband also has a channel, and she's in that also. But I would like to tag her to hopefully get some people to go to her channel. She's got, I think, in the 900s, somewhere in there. Maybe she's gotten to 1,000 subscribers. But she makes soap, grows some of her own greens, and they've got a garden in the summertime when it allows it. Right now they're like just had a huge snowstorm. They have like multiple feet of snow, and they get that quite often. But that's Homestead Homemaking with Heather Skinner, and she makes a lot of homemade stuff, homemade foods, soaps. It has her own garden. They're I don't think they're quite all the way off grid, but they don't have running water in their cabin. They just moved the cabin. They built a basement and then rolled the cabin onto the basement. They built the basement walls themselves. So if you check out her husband's channel, and I'll put his link in the description too, but that's Homestead Homemaking with Heather Skinner. And that wraps up our end of the homesteading, gardening, farming challenge that we were tagged in by Chris and Darlene at Homesteading the Hard Way. Thanks for watching. Oh, before I end that, on the topic of gardening, you know, if you've watched our videos, we have the basement grow room. Well, it was just a kind of a, I guess you could say, experiment with the lighting and stuff, but we're up in the game in it. So watch our new videos, or look for our new video coming out here shortly. We're upgrading the lighting. We've bought some more soil, like media planting mix and that type of thing. And we're going to be moving some stuff up into windows on tables and getting some actual sunlight on it. Dividing the trays up, and here in another month or so we should be able to start getting some stuff outside, or at least hardening it off and moving it outside during the day into the outside, and then bringing it in at night if it's too cold, or leaving it out overnight if it's fine. But we're getting closer to that outside garden, and you can check that out, like I said, shortly. Within the next 4 or 5 days, I should have those videos out. I've still got to put the lighting and system and all that stuff up. We'll do a video on that, how we hang the lights and that type of thing. We're basically doubling up on everything, so we should see some better indoor gardening, or basement gardening. We'll add a couple episodes to that. So stay tuned and have a great day.